Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and coming up today, I'm going to tell you the real reason Owen Hart will never be in the WWE Hall of Fame, and I'm also going to talk about another high-level executive departure from WWE.
Plus, the first official piece of Owen Hart merchandise in over 20 years has been released, and could the Iconics be set to split? This is the news. But we start off today with more developments on a very tough story for us to report here at WhatCulture. Shad Gaspard, former WWE wrestler, of course, a part of Crime Time with JTG. We reported yesterday afternoon, we got the breaking news that he had gone missing. He'd been pulled out to sea while swimming on Venice Beach. A rip current had caught him and his son. People had rushed in to save them. One witness even reported, amazingly, that Shad had directed the authorities to save his son before him. Around 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, this all occurred. There were helicopters, divers deployed to help look for Shad. There was a search party sent out yesterday. But now the search for Shad Gaspard has been called off with no one found. Really tough to deal with this. We can only really give you developments as they come in. I don't want to speculate on what this means. There was a statement sent out by WWE's MVP on behalf of the family that read, Shad's family appreciates all the love, support and concern through this horrible ordeal. At this time, they are not ready to make any public or official statements to any media outlet or ask all to respect their wishes. A huge outpouring of love and support for Shad on social media yesterday. And it's always tough when we have to report news like this, but even more so when it's someone that we've grown to know and love, particularly here at WhatCulture.
Yeah, like Shad's tremendous supporter, friend of the channel. We say friend of the channel as like a little joke every now and then when like a Brian Alvarez or someone does something, but like Shad genuinely was, and like a lot of people within WhatCulture had a relationship with Shad, a friendship. Like he bonded with a lot of members of the cast, yourself included. It's just a really horrible, nasty, awful situation for the family. 39 years old, man. Like, the thing is, with Shad, like, we can talk about his wrestling career and we can talk about, like, our interactions with him, which have always been great. But, like, the things you hear from fellow wrestlers about this guy, and he's been out of the spotlight for a while, fair play, but the things you do hear about him are nothing but golden. This is a guy who, I mean, you know, the story about his son there says a lot about the man and his character. But this is a guy who, in December 2016, stopped an armed robbery bravely, selflessly, by seizing the weapon and apprehending the perpetrator until the police showed up. You know, I saw a tweet last night, somebody, Dave Meltzer, who was talking about the situation and said, Dave, when you have to report on this more, come and speak to me. The humanity of Shad Gaspard must be covered by everyone. So I'm, looking forward to hearing more stories of just how great a man Shad Gaspard is. It's a horrible situation, a horrible, horrible, horrible day, and our thoughts and prayers go out to his closest friends and, of course, his family. Can't really add much more than that, man. It's just awful. It's awful.
Yeah, we talk about wrestlers as like real life superheroes, but Shad sort of exemplified that. And I've not heard anyone ever have a bad word to say about him. Like you say, he was, a successful wrestler in WWE as part of Crime Time, and then was off on the indie circuit. He'd been working on a screenplay that he'd shared with a few of us here at WhatCulture, which was actually really spectacular. And yeah, you can only think about the moments that you spent with him, and when we met him over WrestleMania weekend last year, him and JTG just simply couldn't have been nicer. They were a joy to chat to, a joy to work with, and then we got to hang out with them again at the Bullet Club block party. This is a really tough time and a tough story to report. He was an absolutely great guy. As always, we'll keep you updated on any developments with this story as and when we get them. But as you mentioned there, Andy, just to reiterate, our thoughts go out to JTG, of course, his former partner in Crime Time, his friends and his family. A real-life superhero, Shad Gaspard.
It's a really sad day, and just to add a tiny bit onto the end of this, pay a little bit of respect to another sad incident in the wrestling world yesterday, the passing of 411 Mania's Larry Sonka. if you are a wrestling fan with an internet connection, you have, I guarantee, at one point, whether you've known it or not, read this guy's reviews. He was a workhorse, a titan, a family man, a key pillar, man, of this, what we do. Somewhat, if you've reviewed a wrestling show as well, you've taken some kind of influence from this guy, and he passed away over the weekend. It sounds like a horrible day for wrestling, man. Rest in peace, Larry Sonka. Thoughts go out to his family and friends as well. Let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about the Owen Hart situation. I mean, covering anything after that first story is tough, but here we go. Owen Hart, his widow, Martha Hart, has given an interview with CBS Sports talking about Owen and potentially the WWE Hall of Fame, a hot topic anytime the Hall of Fame comes up. It's always, will Owen go in, all this stuff, he's a key candidate, all this. Martha said the following: there has always been talk that, we want to put Owen in the Hall of Fame. Their Hall of Fame, they don't even have a hallway of fame. It doesn't exist. There's nothing. It's a fake entity. There's nothing real or tangible. It's just an event they have to make money. They put it on TV and have a celebration, and it's just so ridiculous I would never even entertain it. It is garbage. Now, there's stuff to unpack here. So, lots of people have their takes on Owen joining the Hall of Fame. Martha Hart is a widow whose husband perished in a WWE-sponsored stunt. Do well to keep that in mind when making a case for Owen in the Hall of Fame. Owen is a legendary wrestler. Owen was a tremendous pro wrestler who accomplished loads. But the views, the stance of the widow outweighs the stance of any fan out there. And I think you have to respect Martha Hart's opinion on this. Her gripe here, at its core, is that she doesn't want WWE making money from her deceased husband's name, his image, his memory, and all that. I don't think there is a single valid argument against that. More power to Martha Hart. There is some more stuff in this interview. She goes on. She says she's forgiven Vince McMahon and the members of the Hart family who opposed her in her initial lawsuit against the company. She says, I don't hold any grudges. I hope life has been kind to all of them. My life hasn't been easy, and I certainly wouldn't wish harm on anyone. This comes the day before, today, the Dark Side of the Ring episode on Owen Hart. We're going to be talking about Owen Hart quite a lot this week as wrestling fans. And yeah, more power to Martha Hart. She was great on Talk is Jericho as well. So
yeah,
check that out.
Really good. Yeah, well worth checking out. I think that the big takeaway here is because I've seen, as you mentioned, you sent out a great tweet about it, Andy, saying how you just really have to respect Martha's wishes at the end of the day. And I've seen people getting in arguments on Twitter over this, and I think people really need to realise is you don't need to be in the Hall of Fame to be a Hall of Famer or a legend in the fans' eyes. Like, yes, it is a nice celebration that we get to have every year for some of the stars of the industry, but Owen Hart was a phenomenal wrestler and is a legend today, regardless of whether or not he's in WWE's Hall of Fame. Yeah,
and he's in other halls of fame as well. Like, Martha has openly worked with other groups, and she said if New Japan wanted to honour him anyway, where he also worked, she would be up to that. The key is WWE. The fact is, Owen Hart died in a WWE-sponsored stunt. Her stance is earned. Please don't argue with it. Please.
More Owen Hart news to tell you about now, as well as you mentioned Dark Side of the Ring on him tonight. And the first official pieces of Owen Hart merchandise for over 20 years have just been released. Pro Wrestling Tees have unveiled 2 new designs. They did that last night. All profits are going to go to the Owen Hart Foundation. Ryan Barkan of Pro Wrestling Tees tweeting, excited to announce that we signed a deal with both Martha Hart and Vice to bring you brand new Owen Hart shirts along with the first Dark Side of the Ring shirts. All profits from Owen's Tees will be donated to the Owen Hart Foundation at Owen_Foundation. All you need to do if you want to get your hands on them, they do look great to be honest, is visit ProWrestlingTees.com.
Yeah, good stuff. And I would suggest that if you want to honour Owen Hart's memory, as the profits for this are going to his foundation, which helps children in need get college scholarships and helps low-income families with housing and stuff, buying one of his shirts might be a better idea. And they're cool designs, and they're only available for a limited time as well. So
yes, exactly.
Pick one up. Pick one up if you can. Departure within WWE here. Going to run through this one real quickly. Michael Mansouri was the vice president of global TV production, has left WWE. He left last week. New report from PW Insider here stating that he handed in his notice a couple of months ago. Now he's gone. Not the biggest name, not a name you may necessarily have heard, but he was a key figure in WWE, been there since 2009, worked his way up to VP level in 2016. He was essentially responsible for directing a number of weekly TV shows and pay-per-views. He was considered at one point Kevin Dunn, the new Kevin Dunn. He was thought to be the guy who would eventually rise up to that position of prominence and take Kevin Dunn's role when he decided that he wanted to step away. A big Triple H guy as well, so that's kind of significant, but he's gone. It's the latest in the long string of executive departures in WWE in 2020. George Barrios is gone. Michelle Wilson as well. There have been a couple of others. It's all changed in the WWE boardroom, and, Michael Mansouri is away. He's gone.
It's a real time of change in the WWE right now. We obviously report quite a lot on the whole Black Wednesday releases and how public perception was probably very against what WWE decided to do there. But it can't be understated, especially at such an interesting time in wrestling with the current global state of affairs, that this executive mix-up is fascinating to see what direction the company goes in the next few weeks, months, and years, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. When you see so many high-level people walking away, you think, is there going to be a change in corporate identity, or are things going to be done a little bit differently? And then you think, oh, well, it's WWE and it's just Vince, isn't it? He's going to do Vince stuff. So, I would love to think that the switch-ups are for the better and that positive changes are coming, but, pinch of Stanford.
And it can't be understated, you mentioned the previous George Barrios and the like getting released, how important they were to the company, as you get to mention. This guy too, Triple H guy, like you say, the next Kevin Dunn, and the fact he's gone now is a big shift in WWE.
Yeah, major shift. The second in command to Kevin Dunn, by the sounds of things, just gone. So makes you wonder what's going on in that company. I'm particularly interested by the news that he was a big Triple H guy and part of Triple H's regime as well. We had those reports earlier this year that Triple H had been demoted. Something of a power shift going on, maybe. I mean, I don't want to speculate too much, but add 2 and 2 together, sometimes you get 4. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what my mind turned to. Let's talk a little bit about last night's Monday Night Raw. It feels weird. This is a story we would have had quite a lot of fun with, but I'm just pissed off really about it. I was all ready, by the way, to have today's news be just a non-stop celebration of the Iconics regaining those tag team titles. In reality, they had a match that lasted, 3 minutes? Yeah. Ended in a questionable DQ. I had a problem with the referee. I didn't see any issue with it. Alexa Bliss, if anything, just kept accidentally tripping and falling into the steel ring post rather than Peyton Royce chucking her into it on numerous occasions. Anyway, yes, it ended in a DQ for the Iconics. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross retaining the titles. But the bigger story, arguably, here is a potential split of the Iconics. We had a backstage segment following that. Obviously, a big disagreement with Billy Bloody Kay and Peyton Bloody Royce all about this. And Billy Kay slapping the taste out of Peyton Royce's mouth, which, as we all know in WWE, is basically a sign that they are, not much longer to be a tag team. They hugged afterwards, so there's a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance they can still stay together. The back of my mind, the eternal optimist is saying maybe they're just waiting for the title switch to happen at Backlash. But I'm worried, Andy Murray. And fans are annoyed, understandably, about this.
Yeah. It's a strange move. I can't imagine one without the other in WWE, and they work so well together as an act. Man, today's stories are all just, there's levels to this, obviously. The Shad story and, Larry Sonka and, Owen Hart thing. But, all of these are just, it's a horrible news day. Horrible news day. This isn't on the same level, obviously, but,
No, but I don't get the arguments from some people. Some people said, it'd be great to see a singles feud between the two of them. But then, as we've seen on numerous occasions, after that happens, what then?
Yeah.
What then? Because... no offence to Billy Kay and Peyton Royce, and they have developed, obviously, and particularly in the time that they've been away, 6 months nearly that they were off, until they came back last week. But they're not going to be in the upper ranks of single stars. They've already got a stacked roster, and you could name off the top of your head about 5 people that Asuka could defend her Raw Women's Championship against. And by the all looks of things, it's going to be Nia Jax at Backlash, of course. So I don't see the need for it, and especially because other people have pointed out on Twitter that what happens to the tag team division now, the women's tag team division that they promoted so heavily and, started just shoving people together into teams? This was a ready-made team that they had who didn't need to split. It wasn't like people are getting tired of them. They're two of the shining stars. Oh, God, that's a bad tag team to draw a reference to anyway. They're two of the greatest women's tag team wrestlers in terms of just generating reactions from the fans and, just working so well together. I don't understand the thought process here.
Yeah, it's crap, it's weird, and I don't get it either.
Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCultureWW, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. Nick Van Haver starts us off, who says, who do you think could use a change in attire? I think Seth should switch to an all-white attire or white with gold trim, and Baron Corbin should go back to his old pants, keep the singlet underneath, long boots and knee pads on the outside.
I think we're going to give the same answer for this one.
Should we do it on a count of three?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
We might be out of time here because of the the fact we're not in the same room, but still.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Chad
Gable.
There you go. I mean, the joke I usually make with Chad Gable is that he looks like a little kid waiting for his mum to pick him up after basketball practice, and I think that stands. Sort that man out. He's great. Get rid of this crap.
Yes, everyone is excited about The Last Dance. No spoilers. I haven't watched it. I watched hardly any of it yet. But that's the most basketball I need. I do not need to be reminded of... Oh, I love Space Jam, but I don't want to be reminded of it in my wrestling just yet, anyway. Second question today comes from Brandon, who says, with WWE continuing to call the Edge Orton match possibly the greatest match... Oh, hang on, sorry. Possibly the greatest wrestling match of all time, before it even happens, are they setting it up to be a disappointment? No way it's better than Hart, Savage Steamboat, etc.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way in hell it's going to be the greatest match of all time. Like, even if this was, two conventionally great wrestlers, Daniel Bryan and
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles. There you go. If it was these two and those two in this rivalry and blah blah blah, you can't go around calling things the greatest match ever before they've even happened. It's mental. It's nuts. We're talking like decades and decades and decades of wrestling history. We're talking Steamboat Flair. We're talking Kawada and Misawa. We're talking Flair and Sting. We're talking all these The Rock and Austin. I could sit here and list off dozens. It's nuts. I don't understand why they're doing this. Might be a great match. Might be a world-class match. Might be a 5-star match. Whatever you think that might be. It's not going to be the greatest match ever, though. So.
No, it's got Randy Orton in it. Of course it's not going to be the greatest match ever. Like, I love him. I think his builds to matches, as Cedric pointed out just yesterday, is some of the best ever. But, not this match. Especially not what they're after that. I get that they're trying to sort of gain some respect back after that, let's just say, divisive last man standing match. But yeah, I don't really understand the thought process. I know WWE like to put their own spin on things and like to do first ever and use their own sort of terminology here. But this is something subjective. It's not objective, right? There's not like things that they have to do to achieve. You just have to make this match that people will love. And I just can't see them doing it. And the irony, of course, here, we mentioned Bryan and Styles. If they decide to do that Intercontinental Championship tournament thing at the final at Backlash, we could get Styles and Bryan, so we could have the greatest match of all time before the greatest match of all time in their eyes.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Ridiculous. Joe with the final question today. I really like this suggestion, Joe. Joe says, thoughts on bringing Chael, the bad guy's son, into wrestling as a manager. He was the best trash talker in MMA history. Well, until Conor McGregor came along. Was absolutely hilarious and clearly portrayed and understood a character very well. I love Chael Sonnen. He was one of the reasons why I got into MMA when I was younger. And you're a big fan of him as well.
Yeah, I love Chael. So, I know Connor's popular and stuff, but I'll take him over that vile homophobe any day of the week. Chael Sonnen rules. He's like, I know he took a lot of his style from guys like Superstar Billy Graham and other wrestlers and so forth, and he took certain phrases and adapted them. But the guy's so charismatic and magnetic. I don't think he's the biggest fan of professional wrestling, given some of the things he said in this podcast. But Chael's a worker, so he could just well be trying to get people talking. I would love to see him do something. I think he'd be a great manager or even a commentator. I think he did a commentary spot for GFW actually. But yeah, no, I think it'd be cool to see.
Yeah, I think without Chael, there is no Conor McGregor, really, if I'm perfectly honest. And Yes, whilst I don't see it happening, the amount of times we've seen WWE just throw money at a problem and try and bring some celebrities in, you might as well bring someone in who can really talk. I love the new storyline with MVP managing Bobby Lashley and having Chael come in, and I don't know who he would manage, but just as a mouthpiece for absolutely anyone, they would be top tier almost instantly in my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You could get them over really, really goddamn well.
When Anderson Silva walks into a room, you can hear a rat piss on cotton. Honestly, there was an old YouTube video of him trash talking for an hour, and I used to watch it on like a monthly basis. He's honestly, go and check him out if you don't know who Chael Sonnen is. Right, let's move on to today's, and finally, everyone talking about Kairi Sane's recorder on last night's WWE Raw. Miller's been tweeting about it, sharing videos. We can't really share that, of course, because we'll get taken down or whatever, or demonetized. So I'm just going to share Asuka's tweet, which just says, "This is off the record, but this is the worst recorder I have ever heard." I really liked it, and I have a request to our fans out there. Can people please get the footage of Kairi Sane playing a recorder in the ring with Asuka and put that sort of, you remember the crap like 20th century Fox recorder music? Put that over the top of it, because that's what I need, and I haven't got the physical abilities to make something like that.
Yeah, the Kabuki Warriors continue to be the most entertaining thing on the whole damn show, don't they?
And shout out to Nia Jax, because she's got the perfect amount of heat now, this is a proper heel versus face feud. Everyone loves Asuka, and everyone hates Nia Jax. So you've got to give them credit when they book something like this, no?
No, because it started with a concussion, seemingly.
Yes.
I can't give them credit, unfortunately. I can't. I get what you mean, but I'm not here for it.
For God's sake, don't have Nia beat Asuka, obviously.
Just don't have Nia wrestle. Please.
Yeah. Let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dadley Boys. Well, mainly the Dadley Boys just putting up with me moaning about Raw later on today as part of the Raw review. And of course, as always, live 4 p.m. BST here on WhatCulture Wrestling's YouTube channel. Myself, Adam Cleary, and Adam Nicholas answering all the WWE questions you want answered. Make sure you join us for that one. Plus, let us know your thoughts, Twitter questions, and as I said, the footage of Kairi Sane with the 20th Century Fox recorder underneath it at WhatCulture WWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H Murray.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.